Welcome to Auto Intelligence, where we break down the biggest trends in mobility and transportation. I'm Steve.
And I'm Claire. We're part of the Auto Agentic team, bringing you insights on the technologies and trends transforming how we move.
Whether you're enjoying this with your morning coffee or catching up on your commute, we're here to fuel your day with automotive insights that matter.
And today, we're diving into something that's reshaping our cities before our eyes, the micromobility revolution. From e-bikes and scooters to the broader shared mobility ecosystem, we're exploring how these technologies are transforming urban transportation.
It's fascinating stuff, Claire, and we'll be looking at the past 5 years of explosive growth, what's coming next, and the profound impacts on our economy, society, and planet.
So grab your favorite mug and let's get rolling.
So, Claire, I want to start with a story that perfectly captures this micromobility revolution. September 12th, 2024, Toronto. A water main rupture transforms the financial district into a lake of asphalt. Streetcars are paralyzed, highways gridlocked. But at Bike Share Toronto's command center, something extraordinary happens.
The director, Justin Hanna, watches as 4,200 e-bikes and scooters are rented in just over an hour, a 240% massive surge from normal. By September 2024, Bike Share Toronto had already recorded 4.7 million trips, exceeding 2022's total of 4.6 million and approaching 2023's record of 5.4 million.
And Hanna said something really interesting about it. He said it wasn't just about avoiding traffic. People discovered a new kind of urban freedom. The system has become critical infrastructure during transit disruptions, giving people newfound mobility options.
That's such a powerful insight. This moment in Toronto crystallizes what's been happening globally over the past 5 years. Since 2020, micromobility has evolved from Silicon Valley buzzwords to actual urban survival tools.
And it's not just changing how we move. It's literally rewriting the DNA of our cities, challenging economic norms, and sparking a cultural shift comparable to the smartphone revolution. Let's back up and look at how we got here. The COVID pandemic was actually a massive catalyst for micromobility, wasn't it?
Absolutely. COVID's empty streets became this unexpected proving ground for micromobility. Paris saw e-bike sales jump 400% dramatically in 2021. In Madrid, shared scooters became essential transport for healthcare workers.
But the real shock came post-lockdowns. In 2023, North America recorded 157 million shared micromobility trips, double the 2019 levels according to NACTO's latest report.
The numbers are staggering. E-bike adoption surged 144% substantially year over year in Toronto, 89% with similar growth in Portland. Cities like Barcelona introduced mobility zones with dynamic pricing that dropped e-scooter fees in congested areas.
I love this quote from Geneva's mobility chief, Clara Voss. She said, "We went from nice to have to critical infrastructure overnight." Her team converted 22 kilometers of car lanes to micromobility corridors during pandemic recovery.
And there's this mobility researcher at Université du Québec, Dr. Miriam Ertz, who pointed out something really interesting. She said, "The pandemic didn't just change how we move, it changed why. People rediscovered their neighborhoods. A 15-minute grocery run became a 30-minute adventure."
3 key innovations really accelerated this transformation. First, dockless systems. GPS-enabled e-scooters and bikes liberated users from fixed stations.
Second, better batteries. Lithium-ion technology extended e-bike ranges to over 60 miles, while swappable battery stations in Seoul reduced downtime by 70%.
And third, app integration. Platforms like Uber and Whim started combining scooters, bikes, and transit passes, creating what the industry calls mobility as a service.
But it wasn't all smooth riding, was it? There were some serious growing pains.
You're right. There was what some called a vandalism epidemic. 12%, a significant percentage of Ottawa's shared e-scooters were damaged in 2023. And important equity gaps emerged. Studies show the majority of shared mobility users are male, 70%, and disproportionately higher income.
And let's not forget the regulatory whiplash. London's 2022 e-scooter ban lasted just 11 days before public outcry forced a reversal.
Chicago actually created a blueprint for addressing these challenges. They mandated 30% of Divvy bikes be placed in low-income neighborhoods, introduced $5 per month Transit Hero passes for essential workers, and partnered with credit unions to finance e-cargo bikes for street vendors.
You know, Tom Nutley of Urban Sharing summed it up perfectly when he said, right now, the shared micromobility space is a bit of a wild west. Too many vehicles, too many companies trying to do everything, and too much city clutter. But the future? It's looking smarter, more connected, and way less chaotic.
You're listening to Auto Intelligence, sponsored by Auto Agentic, the pioneering AI-driven platform transforming automotive retail with intelligent solutions that empower dealership teams. Now back to our discussion about the micromobility revolution.
So we've looked at how we got here, but where are we headed? The next 5 years are going to see what some are calling the great reconfiguration of urban mobility.
Analysts predict that by 2028, 60% of major cities will adopt something like Toronto's active mobility framework. We're talking solar-powered charging hubs that boost fleet uptime to 90%, AI traffic orchestration that reduces collisions by 15%, and solid-state batteries coming in 2027 that charge 50% faster.
Madrid's 2026 experiment with self-repositioning scooters is particularly fascinating. These scooters actually reduced rebalancing costs by 18% by autonomously returning to high-demand areas overnight.
And Lego's scooter libraries boosted female ridership 27% through community-led lending. This is really about cities rewriting the rulebook.
Gone are the days of sidewalk cluttering scooters and free-for-all deployment. The new urban mobility paradigm has 3 key features.
First, city-owned infrastructure, dedicated lanes, charging hubs, and geo-fenced parking that's reduced sidewalk clutter by 44% in pilot zones.
Second, data-driven pricing. Dynamic fees that drop during off-peak hours and surge near transit hubs, which has tripled off-peak ridership in Barcelona trials.
And third, equity mandates. Following Chicago's Divvy expansion that added 175 stations to underserved areas, similar policies now require 30% of micromobility fleets in EU cities to serve low-income districts.
What's really interesting is how autonomy is dissolving old boundaries in transportation. Madrid now has these robo-scooters that self-dock at transit stations at midnight.
Berlin's launching this 2027 mobile punk app that lets users blend e-scooter minutes with subway passes. And Amsterdam's municipal battery swaps have cut private ownership costs by 34%.
I love this quote from smart city technologist Fatima Nkrumah. Autonomy isn't about replacing drivers, it's about making mobility a public good like electricity.
And Patrick Osei, another transportation technology expert, explains IoT and AI can help optimize traffic flow, reduce downtime, and improve overall efficiency in the transportation sector. This will lead to reduced costs, increased productivity, and better service for customers.
This micromobility transformation is creating what experts call a triple revolution, reshaping our economy, equity landscape, and environmental outlook.
On the economic front, the numbers are staggering. Every $1 million invested in bike infrastructure creates 8 to 22 jobs, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation and supported by multiple independent studies.
The micromobility market was valued at $63.1 billion in 2024 and is projected to hit $204.8 billion by 2033, outpacing the traditional auto sector's growth by 3 to 1, according to recent analyses from Globe Newswire and iMark Group.
And we're seeing a retail renaissance too. In Portland, 34% of e-scooter trips end at local businesses, prompting micromobility discounts at cafes and shops.
But there's disruption too. Detroit's 2025 e-bike subsidy program saw bike shop revenues jump 18%, while auto parts stores closed at double the national rate.
The shared mobility market overall is projected to grow from $359 billion in 2025 to around $815 billion by 2032, at a compound annual growth rate of nearly 13%, according to Polaris Market Research.
When it comes to equity, the picture is mixed. While Toronto's bike share serves riders across all income brackets, success stories mask persistent divides.
Lagos has increased female ridership by 27% through mobile credit loans. And Sydney's Indigenous-led e-bike co-ops have cut transport poverty by 41%.
But a 2025 NACTO report warns mobility justice requires designing for night workers, caregivers, disability communities, not just commuters.
An ACA report notes that the majority of systems have not been designed to tackle specific social impacts or promote social goals. Evidence shows that shared mobility services are generally more likely to be used by people who are male, younger, and higher income.
And the environmental math is complicated too. Shared micromobility offset 74 million pounds of CO2 in North America in 2023. That's a win.
But here's the loss. Zurich's cell phone data revealed 41% of e-scooter trips replaced walking, actually increasing emissions by 12% per trip. This was verified by an ETH Zurich study showing each shared e-scooter trip creates 51 grams more CO2 per kilometer compared to the modes they replace.
Colin Murphy of SUMC warns that a shared e-scooter isn't inherently green. It's about replacing car trips, not strolls.
The truth is messier than the marketing suggests. While EVs dominate new fleets, 23% of shared e-scooter emissions still come from lithium mining and shipping.
One study estimates that if a single shared vehicle replaces 10 individually owned cars, the carbon footprint could drop by 41% by 2050. This finding comes from climate research cited by organizations like Climate Action Accelerator.
As we look toward 2030, we're seeing cities being fundamentally reborn through this mobility revolution.
Paris's 2030 blueprint is a perfect example. The city plans to remove 50% of on-street parking spaces and convert a significant portion of car lanes into pedestrian zones, bike lanes, and green spaces. Their Grand Paris Express project will create dozens of new stations by 2030, each acting as multimodal hubs integrating various transport options.
The results are expected to be significant for public health, congestion reduction, and local business growth.
But perhaps the most profound shifts are happening in our collective mindset. Research shows the majority of 18 to 24-year-olds now view car ownership as less important than previous generations did.
We're seeing the rise of microtourism. Apps like Joyride curate 20-mile discovery routes for e-bikes, driving a 140% significant increase in rural rentals.
And there's a safety tech evolution. Studies show helmet use can reduce severe head trauma risk by approximately 31%, and cities are implementing various safety features from collision detection to improved rider education.
As Medellin's mobility minister beautifully put it, people now see streets as living spaces, not traffic corridors.
Let me paint a picture of the future. It's 5:47 a.m. on Yonge Street in Toronto, 2030. Sunlight glints off the Micromobility Greenway, a reclaimed alley where solar charging pads hum beneath murals of transit activists.
A self-driving shuttle disgorges nurses who tap watches to unlock shared scooters. Across town, a delivery worker's e-cargo bike glides into a priority lane, its compartments stocked with seniors' groceries.
5 years ago, this scene was science fiction. Today, it's unremarkable.
The revolution wasn't about lithium or apps. It was about reimagining what cities could be. As Justin Hanna of Bike Share Toronto says, we're not just moving people, we're moving possibilities.
That brings us to the end of today's deep dive into the micromobility revolution. Looking at the numbers, we're seeing global shared micromobility trips projected to grow from 450 million in 2025 to 1.2 billion by 2030.
Urban car ownership is expected to drop from 54% to 41% in that same period, while protected bike lanes will nearly triple from 38,900 kilometers to 112,000 kilometers worldwide.
And mobility-related emissions are projected to decrease from 7.3 gigatons of CO2 to 5.9 gigatons. A significant improvement, but still a long way to go.
This episode of Auto Intelligence is brought to you by Auto Agentic, the first hybrid AI partner in automotive. Founded in 2024, Auto Agentic is a pioneering platform transforming the auto retail industry with a suite of intelligent, adaptive solutions. From streamlining operations to optimizing sales and elevating the customer experience, they're helping dealerships and OEMs move from AI confusion to real results.
What sets Auto Agentic apart is that they're LLM agnostic and deeply trained in the nuances of automotive. More importantly, their AI is built to enhance your team, not replace it. That's why they're known as the most human AI company in the automotive space. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can learn more about Auto Agentic by visiting us at www.autoagentic.ai.
We'll be back on Thursday with more insights from the automotive world. Until then, I'm Steve.
And I'm Claire.
Thanks for listening to Auto Intelligence.